The camera pans across the checkout line, laughter, grocery bags, normal Sunday chaos. Then, out of nowhere, a harsh voice cuts through the noise. Move faster, old man, heads turn. Phones rise. A white woman in designer sunglasses glares at a frail black senior struggling to scan his items. The world freezes. One cruel moment caught on video that will soon explode across America, turning an ordinary store into the center of a national storm. The morning light spilled through the wide glass doors of Greenmont, washing the aisles in a soft golden hue. Shopping carts rattled, scanners beeped, and the air smelled faintly of fresh coffee and detergent. Just another peaceful Sunday, until one voice shattered the calm. Among them was Mr. Leonard Brooks, a retired school teacher known in the neighborhood for his gentle manners. His hands trembled slightly as he tried to place his groceries on the conveyor belt. Milk, bread, and a box of tea. Just behind him, Karen Miller, mid-40s, dressed in luxury she couldn't quite afford, tapped her foot impatiently. Her irritation wasn't about time. It was about him. When Leonard accidentally dropped a coin, her eyes rolled, and the tension in the air thickened. Unbelievable. Karen snapped loud enough for everyone to hear. People like you slow everything down. Her voice carried a venom that silenced nearby chatter. Leonard froze. He'd heard words like those before, in classrooms, in lines, in life. But this time, it wasn't whispered, it was broadcast. The cashier, a young college student, looked horrified but stayed silent. Phones began to rise, recording the scene. Leonard, with quiet dignity, simply said, "Ma'am, please, there's no need for that." But his calm only fueled her fire. "You people always play the victim," she spat, her face tightening with anger. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The moment spiraled fast. Karen shoved her cart forward, bumping it into Leonard's legs. The impact wasn't hard, but it was humiliating. The store manager, hearing the commotion, rushed over. "Ma'am, you need to calm down," he said firmly. "Calm down." "He should move," Karen shouted back. The security camera above caught everything. The shove, the slurs, the faces. When the manager threatened to call the police, Karen smirked. "Go ahead. I'm not scared." Leonard stood there, silent, clutching his groceries with trembling hands. What she didn't know was that within hours, that video would be everywhere. TikTok, Instagram, the evening news. By sunset, her name would be trending for all the wrong reasons. By the next morning, the video had racked up over 2 million views. Every scroll, every repost, carried the same caption: "Racist woman attacks elderly black man at Greenmont." Karen's smirk, frozen mid-sentence, had become the face of hate online. Strangers dug through her social media, her workplace reviews, even her past complaints. Within hours, her name, address, and job title were trending. Outside her suburban home, news vans gathered like vultures. Karen tried to explain it was a misunderstanding, but America wasn't buying it. The world had seen the truth, raw, unfiltered, and undeniable. Meanwhile, Leonard Brooks sat quietly in his small living room, the same calmness in his eyes that had disarmed so many students during his teaching years. He hadn't expected the video to go viral. He hadn't even wanted it to. Yet, strangers from across the country flooded his phone with messages of love and support. A local pastor dropped by, offering comfort. "You handled hate with grace, Mr. Brooks," he said softly. Leonard smiled faintly, replying, "Sometimes silence speaks louder than anger." But the truth was, deep inside, that moment in the store had reopened old wounds. The kind that time alone never fully heals. That evening, the police knocked on Karen's door. The footage, along with multiple witness statements, had turned the grocery store incident into a criminal investigation. "Ms. Miller, you're being charged with harassment and assault," the officer said, his tone professional but firm. Karen's confidence cracked. The same crowd that once stared in silence at the store now gathered on her front lawn, cameras ready. "This is ridiculous," she yelled, but her voice trembled. The officers placed her in handcuffs, the blue and red lights flickering across her shocked face. For the first time, she realized she wasn't the victim in this story. And as the door of the police car shut, the sound of clicking cameras echoed like a verdict. The courthouse steps were crowded that morning. Reporters called out questions, microphones flashing under the gray Atlanta sky. Karen Miller walked in wearing sunglasses and a nervous smile, flanked by her attorney. Inside, Leonard Brooks sat quietly in the front row, dressed in a simple navy suit. The courtroom was packed, not with anger, but with anticipation. When the judge read the charges aloud, Karen's face drained of color. The video played once more on a large screen, echoing through the silent room. Her own words came back to haunt her, sharper than she remembered. "You people always play the victim." By the time it ended, Karen couldn't meet anyone's eyes. Her lawyer argued for leniency, saying she'd been under stress, that it was a moment of frustration, but the prosecutor didn't let the moment soften. "A moment of frustration doesn't excuse hate," he said firmly. Then, to everyone's surprise, Leonard stood up. The judge allowed him to speak. His voice was calm, the same voice that once guided students through history lessons. "I forgive her," he said, "not because she deserves it, but because hate already took too much from people like me. I won't let it take any more." The courtroom fell silent. Even the judge paused, visibly moved. Forgiveness, quiet, powerful, and utterly disarming, had spoken louder than rage ever could. The verdict came swiftly. Karen was found guilty of assault and hate-related harassment. She was fined, ordered to attend racial sensitivity training, given community service hours at a local senior center. Outside the courthouse, Leonard walked into a sea of reporters, his eyes kind but steady. "This isn't about punishment," he said softly. "It's about learning to see humanity again." That clip, too, went viral, not because of outrage this time, but because of grace. Meanwhile, Karen began her service weeks later, humbled, quiet, her hands now helping the very people she once looked down on. Sometimes justice doesn't roar. It whispers, and when it does, The whole world listens.